The South African Education System, Inequality and Ethical Dilemmas. In this academic essay, I explore the theme of ethical dilemmas, tools available to deal with ethical dilemmas, and barriers that might interfere with implementing the Code of Ethics by educators in South Africa. This essay presents a follow-up to the formal proposal, which focused on the exploration of ethics in the South African context and featured information about different types of ethics and ethical approaches in the modern education setting. Ethical dilemmas occur in cases of conflicts between moral values where the application of moral standards is unreliable or impossible. The case I want to use as an example of an ethical dilemma focuses on inequality in the South African education system and how teachers adapted to e-learning in conditions of the COVID-19 pandemic. The education system in South Africa can be perceived as the most unequal and dysfunctional education system in the world. Due to various socio-economic factors, the South African education system faces overcrowded classrooms, the poor academic performance of students, and stark inequalities. The system's flaws were emphasized during the COVID-19 pandemic when educational institutions had to switch to a distance learning system. In addition to the inability to contact students in the first weeks of the lockdown because of outdated contact information, schools needed to organize remote education for students who did not have the required equipment. Lastly, lockdowns threaten the nutrition of students whose parents lost their jobs and the safety of students whose parents worked in the frontline services. Furthermore, the high costs of mobile data had a significant negative impact on the possibility of remote learning. Teachers faced the ethical dilemma of reducing the volume of educational material to reduce the size of files downloaded by students. Moreover, some teachers even began to give students different tasks depending on the availability of mobile devices. Thus, assignments for students with laptops included essays, while students with phones were given an opportunity to solve quizzes because typing on the phone was more challenging. Analyzing this example can provide significant information about ethical dilemmas and potential actions to address them. The ethical codes for educators suggest that all students must be treated equally. Furthermore, Comenius Oath for teachers requires them to act equally and fairly in all situations. In addition, the student's academic process and quality of learning materials should remain a priority for teachers. In many countries, the implementation of teacher codes is troubled by limited access to education. In conditions of emergency created by the COVID-19 pandemic, teachers voluntarily changed the curriculum and requirements for students to ensure the learning process for students with limited opportunities. In case of a similar situation in the future, the application of the four-quadrant approach adapted from Beauchamp and Childress is suitable for solving the moral dilemma. The approach respects the autonomy of the right of individual teachers to make a decision. Respect for autonomy was present in the discussed example where teachers themselves chose which method for shortening the material was more suitable for them. Furthermore, the approach follows the principles of beneficence in the promotion of equality in students and non-maleficence in the unwillingness to leave students without education. Thus, the solution emphasizes equality and fairness in providing benefits to students, teachers, schools, and parents of students. Lastly, considering the further ethical dilemmas that could be addressed following this line of action, teachers should gradually return to the previous requirements after the return of school to normal conditions. Even though the return to regular face-to-face education places all students in equal conditions, teachers should remember that learning conditions in South Africa remain unequal. Therefore, teachers should learn from overcoming the moral dilemma and continue offering alternative learning forms for students.